Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé. Let's watch the show. I'm going to react to it. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. Let's get to it.
We have baby right now. We come back after 5 minutes.
You heard
okay?
what he said about the party thing, right? No.
Brandon and Julia, now that you guys are married, have your parents' house rules toned down a bit?
Now she have moral rules.
Wait, there are more rules?
All right, interesting. So we're learning that Brandon and Julia are still living with the parents. What does this mean? Does it mean that it's just a step in a direction where they'll eventually move out? Does it mean that they need to all go to family therapy so that they can work better, more effectively together as a team? Does it mean that Julia is doomed to live on the farm for the rest of her life, whether she likes it or not? Does it mean that Brandon achieved his goal, his unstated goal of, which we don't know if this was an unstated goal, but a lot of people speculated that he never actually wanted to move off of the farm? Is this just another piece of evidence pointing at the fact that Brandon is still not able to assert himself or even know what he wants? Or is this just a transitional phase that they will move out sometime soon because when the pandemic, or he has money, or, who knows? But a lot of questions.
Your parents' house, but what you could afford wasn't up to Julia's standards?
Yes.
I can.
But I did also I did have to put the pressure on her.
No, yes, I mean,
look, we won't move into the best place in the world. Like, we don't have that much money together yet, but we will. We'll have to pinch our pennies like everyone else in the world.
All right, so that is interesting and surprising because we didn't see scenes like that. The story, and I don't know if Julia is agreeing with this precisely. Maybe she is, maybe she's not. But the story that they're telling us, or that Brandon is telling us, is that they were going to move out, and according to his budget, he found some apartments that were within his budget, and she said that she didn't want to live there because they weren't good enough for her. And that's okay. She could say, well, I'd rather just still live at your parents than live in that crappy apartment. So that's interesting. Did they have that conversation after the wedding? Was it before the wedding? Maybe they'll get into it.
Can I skip this one, Like, can we really go out tonight and eat? No, I mean, yeah.
I told her it's not going to be the easiest thing. We're not going to be the best place right away, but we'll get there. You know what I mean? We'll work our way there.
No,
It's
I mean,
life.
I don't like this apartment, but I won't leave this farm.
But listen, you know what? When you make the choice.
Okay, so it sounds like Julia is agreeing with the story that she wanted to leave, but she didn't like the apartment. So what's going on there? As usual, I'm frequently wondering, do these couples know how to talk about budgeting? When they get married, or even before, they have to share their budget with each other and say, here is the budget. Here is how much money we have. Here's what what do we want to do with this money? I wonder if they had those conversations. Sometimes what happens is the one member of the couple will be in control of the money, and the other person is not in control, doesn't know what's happening, and is just there in a confused state asking for things. So I don't know if this is the case for the two of them, but let's just go with this. So Brandon, let's say he's in total control of the money. He doesn't share with her, doesn't let her in on the decision-making process, doesn't let her in on the bank account, this kind of thing. Now, why would you do that? Well, some people do this because they're afraid that they will be discovered as someone who isn't earning that much money, or they're afraid of giving up that power, and they want that power. So if he did that, which we don't know, then we could imagine from Julia's perspective, she's like, well, I'm pretty sure he has the money for this apartment, but he's just being stingy with the money, and he's presenting me this apartment because he doesn't want to spend the money. But I want him, instead of really having a back and forth together of like, okay, here is our money. Let's negotiate how we spend this money. I don't know if they had a conversation. Maybe they'll get into it. Let's see.
Oh my God, the night that you told your parents that Julia's really not happy, she's going to go back to Russia, I don't know. I didn't feel like you handled it very well.
Let's take a look.
Julie and I need to leave.
Leave what?
Yeah,
The farm?
Yeah, she's not happy being here.
Don't make a stupid decision.
It's not my.
So this is interesting. Of all the clips they could show of all the people on the show, this is the clip that I am dying to hear what Betty and Ron will say to this. There's a possibility that they've never seen this before. There's a possibility they've never seen themselves express this kind of emotion ever before. I'm really curious, and I really hope Sean gives space for Betty particularly, and Ron as well, and maybe Brandon, to talk about this interaction. I'm so curious what they're going to say, and I'm worried that they're just going to glance over it and not explore something. So let's see what happens.
If that's the compromise I have to make to have you guys stay.
It's a step in the right direction.
What?
I just felt like when he spoke up and wanted to move out, that you both got very angry and manipulative. She went into mom guilt mode.
Wow, Rebecca's really going for it on this show. She's the truth teller on this show. She's speaking for a lot of people. Interesting frame that I froze it on. So I'm really curious what the mom... Now, I kind of wish Rebecca wouldn't have said that because I think it's going to push the parents into a defensive mode. I really wish they would have just said something like, what do you think about that clip? And to hear the parents say things without having to defend themselves. So let's see what they say.
That was genuine. I was really... That hit me hard just because she'd only been here not very long. And I just felt like for that to happen so quickly, I don't even think she had a chance to give it a chance.
I mean, with all the rules, though. Okay,
so that's interesting. That's consistent with what we've heard from her and Ron throughout the season, a little bit anyway, in that it seems as though the parents, Betty and Ron, were hoping that Brandon and Julia would live on the farm and live there forever. The father particularly said that, and Betty would say that sometimes. So they seem to have had a bit of a hope there, and there's nothing wrong with that. They can have that hope. And so, but why would they think that was possible? Well, it's probably because Brandon gave the impression that that was possible. It's also possible that Brandon actually wants that to happen as well. I don't know. It seems like Brandon does want to move out, at least partially, but we could imagine Brandon giving the impression like, yeah, she'll come here and, maybe she'll fall in love with the farm. Who knows? We'll find out. And Brandon certainly was seemingly on a campaign to influence Julia to like the farm. When Julia would complain, she's like, can we just move out now? And he would be like, Julia, it's okay. What's going on here? I don't know why you're complaining. That kind of talk. So I believe Betty when she says that. She's like, look, that was genuine. I was really upset because in my heart, I was hoping that they would stay on the farm a lot longer because I love the farm and I want them to love the farm. And that leads to another speculation that I had a lot earlier in the season, which is that the parents consider the farm to be an extension of their identity. We can imagine that being true. For some of us, we might be able to relate to that. Our house might be an extension of our identity, or our children might be an extension of our identity. And when you don't like my children, when you don't like my pets, when you don't like my house, when you don't like my farm, you're saying you don't like me. And I have a lot of insecurities based on my past, and so I'm desperate for people to not only like me, but to like the things that I associate with me, the things that I'm proud of, the things that I really hold up dear to myself. So it's another possibility that was present in that emotional expression by the mom when she was really sad that they were going to move out. Now, we would hope that the mom would have a rational side to her and say like, well, but my son is 27, he's getting married, he's going to move out. So I'm sad, but I'm also totally fine with him moving out because of course I am. So maybe she'll say that. Let's watch.
Let me say this, Rebecca. At no given time were they made to stay there. They could move out any time they wanted to. It was okay with us. It's just we were trying to help them out so they could get financially strong.
So that's probably true, of course, because they weren't locked to the bed with a, handcuff or a chain or something. They could have moved out at any time. But we also saw at least some evidence of some emotional pressure in that time, but maybe even spanning back several years, that Brandon not leave. So they might be verbally saying, you can go anytime. But emotionally, that might have been a different scenario. And I know a lot of you have actually commented below or even emailed me saying that you came from a family that was similar to Brandon, and watching Ron and Betty actually trigger you a lot. We don't know. We can only speculate as to what Brandon's experience was like and what the parenting was like. But there certainly seems to be some flags, some red flags of an ongoing style of parenting that can be very emotionally influencing, let's put it that way.
It really didn't seem as though it was okay with Betty for them to leave.
I did feel like maybe Julia was trying to pressure him into moving because she wasn't happy at the farm.
So that's an interesting way of putting it, isn't it? Betty's saying, I felt like she was pressuring him to move out because she didn't like the farm. Yeah, I mean, that would be rational. She doesn't want, it's not a life goal of Julia's. It's not a life goal of the vast majority of humans to live on a farm and have to pick up crap all day long. It's not their dream. For some people, that's their dream, but not for the vast majority of humans, and Julia is one of those people. And the expectation was that they were going to move out. That was the whole thing from the very beginning. So it's interesting that she frames it in her mind of, so by implication, she's saying that Brandon wants to stay on the farm, and Julia is the outsider trying to pull him away. So I think we're starting to hear some indications that some of our hypotheses that I was getting into earlier in the season might be at least close to the mark. Now, we have no idea. We'd have to ask everyone in an interview, especially Brandon. We'd have to figure out what's going on with him. But there's a possibility that there's a lot of emotional pressure to conform, and there's a lot of enmeshment. And listen to all my episodes on enmeshment. And also you can listen to my deep dives on dependent personality disorder. I'm not diagnosing, but the style of parenting and the schemas that are involved in that are possibly present. There's just no way to know. But that through enmeshment and through control, then it can sometimes look like this. Now, why would a parent do that to the child? Are they nefarious and evil? No. The reason why parents will do this often is because they're reacting to something that happened when they were young. So they might have been abused when they were young. They might have been abandoned when they were young or something like that. And so when they have kids, they will try to overcompensate by enmeshing with their child, by requiring the child to think a certain way and be a certain way, and subtly pressure or emotionally guilt trip the child into never pulling away because you have traumas about abandonment or something in your own past. So there seems to be some indications that, again, I have no way of knowing if it's true. I'd have to ask everyone present.
Poor girl now. I never said I'm poor girl.
But that's what you show.
Oh, stop.
You let everybody think like, oh, poor Julia. Oh, everybody feel bad for me for working on the farm here.
Whoa. We like going too far.
I mean, that is kind of interesting that the way the show was portraying it, it seemed as though they were forcing Julia to do the work. But according to the four of them, including Julia, they're saying, no, I was doing Brandon's chores so that when he came home from work, I could spend more time with him. So it was a choice that I was making so that we could spend more time. So you could make the argument that Julia did it voluntarily. You could also make an argument that there was a lot of pressure on her to do it because if she was going to, because she's home alone all day long while he's at work, and if he has chores that he's got to do that last 3 hours long when he gets home, then yeah, she is at least pressured into doing the chores for Brandon. So, but that does add a bit to the story, right?
I never say I'm poor girl.
And-
It's like everyone say this, but I never say this.
You also didn't stop us from saying it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're
you
exactly
did.
right.
I'm hearing a lot of opinions about this.
Now, I don't know if Julia ever claimed that she was a poor girl, as they're putting it, but they certainly edited the show in that way. I think we can put that forth, but I don't think we can lay that on Julia. I think that how would Julia know that they weren't going to include maybe even conversations that they filmed saying just this thing that, no, I was doing it because no one told me to do it. So I don't think you can accuse Julia. Now, maybe Julia online is doing Instagram or something and saying that, yes, I was being forced to do it. So I don't know what they're accusing her of exactly.
Okay, I'd like to clear this up. So I just wanted her to be informed and educated as to what her options would be. I never wanted to tell her she had to go on birth control or that she had to do A, B, or C. And for me to tell her wasn't really going to hold water. But if she were to talk to a professional.
Okay, so she's consistent with her behavior. She's saying, look, I wasn't going to force her to do anything. I was just trying to make her informed. Yeah, but is that your place? Did you ask if she wants to be informed? She's not your 12-year-old daughter. She is your son's adult fiancé. Did you ask if Julia wanted that advice? Did you ask if Julia wanted you to talk to a physician about her problems? So that's interesting that she still is standing by that behavior. She's like, look, I was just looking, and anyone looking on would say like, whoa, she's really crossing some boundaries, which is in line with the hypothesis of enmeshment, of a difficulty knowing the boundary between self and other, a difficulty knowing the difference between my feelings and what I would like for you and what I'm going to force you to do, what I'm going to force upon you. Now, it's quite possible that Betty grew up in a family where she was forced to do things, where the boundary wasn't respected between herself and other people when she was not in power. And then when she had children, she had a similar style of parenting. I don't know. But her statement seems to exhibit that. And I'm guessing the people on this panel are going to possibly blast her for that. Let's watch.
Being my doctor, that maybe that would lead some, credence to the fact that, yes, there are other options for her.
But did she ask you to do that?
I love it when they ask the perfect question. So good on Tariq. This is actually a pretty good tell-all. I don't know if it's just because this is the first full 90-day season. Actually, this is the first full 90-day season I've ever watched with y'all. I came in midway through the 90 days. Before the 90 days, I came midway, with Darcy and Tom and all that, and watched the rest of the season. But this is the first time I've seen all. So this is the first time I've gone to the tell-all, slowly but surely. And so I don't know if I'm just influenced by that, but I feel like this is a pretty good tell-all. There's a lot of things. They're getting to the bottom. Sometimes in these tell-alls, they're just screaming at each other and everyone's yelling, and I'm just like, what do I say? But they're actually getting at some things. So anyway, Tariq says, okay, great, Betty, but did she ask you to do that? Let's see what the mom says.
So I will say this. If she said, no, I don't want to talk to your doctor, okay, that's fine.
What? So that is quite a justification. That's quite a justification. Very self-serving in that moment. Now, did Betty wake up in the morning that day and today going like, ha, 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 I'm going to be a jerk face? No. At all? I don't think so. I mean, maybe she did, but I don't think so. What is going on here? Is it because of the way she was raised? Quite possibly. Is it because of her attachment injuries? Quite possibly. Is it because of distortions in terms of how she relates to other people? Because of traumas she's been through? Quite possibly. Is it because she has extreme anxiety because of some maybe even sexual trauma that she's been through? I don't know. But that's, we all understand that we all have psychologies, we have various different defenses, and Betty is no different from that. So we just have to wonder about that. But anyway, so she's like, well, hey, I was just looking into the detail. I was just trying to help. And then Tariq says, well, but did you ask her? And then Betty says, well, if she would have said no, I would have backed off. But if you don't ask Julia yes or no, and you just forge ahead, and you don't give her she wasn't sitting there saying, don't do this. I don't even think she had arrived yet. How could she have possibly have said no to something that she didn't even know was going to happen? That's, that'd be like, my wife has a special box of cookies in the cabinet, and I just go in there and eat all of them. And then she's like, comes in, and she's like, what happened to my cookies? And I was like, well, you didn't say not to eat them. Like, I didn't hear any complaints. And my wife would be like, I wasn't even home when you ate. How was I supposed to complain? I think we all understand that. So maybe Tariq will follow up and say like, well, did you ask her? So let's see what Betty says. Now, again, I do not think Betty is a bad person. I think the internet sometimes will say that she's a bad person. She's she's probably coming from a place of high anxiety based on what she has experienced. She probably has high anxiety, and it's eclipsing her ability to think straight around these issues. And she will, and as her way of dealing with her anxiety is to invade other people's boundaries. It's rational for her to worry about Julia getting pregnant too early. Any parent in her position would at least be slightly worried about that, especially if she found out that they weren't using more effective birth control. Any parent would be like, oh, I'm kind of worried. What do we do with that anxiety, though, as a parent of an adult son who's 27 years old? What do we do? Well, if she was taught, or if her anxiety is so high and she has a habit of invading boundaries as a way of managing that anxiety, then that's what you're going to do.
But I think that she's a very smart and logical person, and that it wouldn't hurt just to talk to somebody. We knew that talking with them, that they didn't want to have children right away. She said that she wanted to wait 2 or 3 years. So
again, all this is completely rational. It's normal for a mother in a situation like that to have some concern. But what do you do with that? Do you invade someone's boundaries, or do you say, hey, do you want help with that? Or do you just drop a little comment here and there? What do you do with that? Well, she has a style, which, it's interesting to think about for Betty. She might have a style that goes back generations. And everyone in those families, her parents and their parents, everyone was used to it. It was just normalized. And then it's recorded and put on TV. And now everyone, the public, is now offering their opinions on your way. And now you're like, wait, this isn't normal? That's pretty common. I've seen that before. I've worked with people like Betty, and they will, after we do a lot of work, they'll say like, so other people don't do this? I didn't, because everyone in my family did. All of my extended family does it this way. My grandparents did it this way. I didn't know I didn't know you weren't supposed to do that. I thought that's what good parents did. I thought good parents invade other boundaries, as you put it. I thought it was good parenting. I thought it would be neglectful if I didn't do that, because that was what was done to me. But now that I think about it, I didn't like it when it was happening to me. So why was I doing it to other people? I've seen that happen before. I wonder if Betty would, and maybe is, experiencing that.
Tariq, what did you have to say about it?
Well, my question never really got answered. I just asked if Julia asked for the doctor call. That was my question.
No, it was before she got here.
Yeah, I'm not staying here.
But my wife wasn't home, so I just ate the cookies. That doesn't answer the question. That's not an excuse. Well, she hadn't arrived in the United States yet. It's not again. I'm guessing it's because it feels right to her, because that's the way she was raised and that's the way her parents were raised, and she doesn't really have a logical answer to this. I'd be curious if after she watches this, and then maybe she'll watch this episode, if there will be some wisdom gained from this. Now, it's kind of too late at this. Well, is it too late? It's probably not too late. I mean, they still have a lot of transitioning to do with Brandon to move out of the house eventually, but maybe he won't. Anyway, I have a lot of worries about this family. I mean, it looks like things are working out for the most part. I mean, in the beginning of the season, it just seems like it was going to be a total disaster. But, they seem to have adjusted pretty well, it seems. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself, because you deserve it. You really, really do.